Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics with your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. A lot to talk about today. Going to talk about the flash crash that happened on Friday, notable Pepes going through the roof, a bunch of really cool art sales. Let's get right into it. First with a quick market overview. Volumes were down a fair bit. Again, I didn't get too excited when they got up. I don't get too worried when they go down because it's so much about airdrop farming. Blur still completely dominant in terms of ETH volume market share, more than 80% over the past 3 days. Unique buyers were flat, so not much motion there. And prices were basically flat. We had a huge crash on Friday, down really quickly, rebounded, a little bit more rebound on Saturday. So overall, prices were basically flat. Codas, Cool Cats up a bit. VFriends, Gutters down a touch. Mid caps also flat. A lot of strength, though, in potatoes and captains. Also, a kid called Beast rebounded. And I talked last week about how Valhalla went up a lot on Friday. When they go up, sometimes they go right back down. Saw that rebound downwards over the weekend. In terms of art blocks, pretty low volume. Only about 4 art blocks projects had volumes over 10 ETH in the past 24 hours. A little bit more over the past 72 hours. Want to look at some of the biggest sales over the past 72 hours. First, when I look at these sales, these top 2, I think, these are a little bit low for these assets. A Fidenza sold for 65 ETH, a Fuzzy Squiggle for 15. This one was a nice sale. The Harvest for 12.5. That was sold to 6529. And then a whole bunch of Meridian sold for 10 ETH, including that one in the lower right. In terms of what was hot, captains were hot again, pushed all the way up to above a 5 ETH floor. A little bit of news there, made some updates to their website, which they describe on their Twitter. The other thing, and this was kind of crazy, was that they bid 999 ETH for the golden key. And that came after Mongrel rejected a bid of 690 ETH for the golden key. It's interesting, captains bought a bunch of Bored Apes, and I think what they like to do is take their treasury, their royalties, whatever they've made, and put it into different NFT assets. So interesting to see them doing this with the key. The other thing was the Alien, an Alien captain. That's the highest tier of captain, sold for 26.5 ETH. That was the highest sale of a captain ever. So a bit of movement there. Always fun to see those guys making moves. Story number 2, Friday's flash crash. What do I mean by this? I'm going to start with this chart here. Okay, this chart I showed on the show on Friday, and it basically shows how Machi Big Brother had spent a lot of ETH on NFTs. If you don't remember, he was mainly the person who bought from OSF and Mando when they sold a bunch of Bored Apes at 78 ETH, and he just kind of held for a couple days. Okay, now immediately after this chart, immediately after that show, this is what happened. Okay, Machi basically just completely unloaded, sold as many apes as he could, just really kind of went back to flat. In doing so, he actually took a pretty huge loss in his portfolio. You can say this is realized gains and losses based on trades in Machi's portfolio since February 20th. And he was down something like over 2,000 ETH based on those trades. So really got hurt by what happened with the Mando and OSF buys. Down to about 2,000 ETH. If you actually look at it relative to the airdrop farming, on the first season, Machi made about 1.8 million blur, which is about $1.6 million. In this loss that he's taken just over the past week, it's about 2,000 ETH of losses, which is over $3 million of losses. So really a pretty big hit here. Let's look what happened to the prices when he dumped them, though. And you can see really just sent the ape, this is median sales in yellow. You can see that the ape floor went from like 72 to below 60 temporarily. So just took whatever bids he could get. What ends up happening when all those other airdrop farmers kind of get hit with these apes is they lose their risk appetite, lose some of their ETH that they have in other bids, and really the entire ecosystem went down pretty sharply. This is Azuki, you can see really kind of tanked at the same time. Here's Pudgy Penguins, you can see Pudgy Penguins tanked. It was really kind of happened across the board. What all 3 of these charts also have in common is that the price rebounded. Okay, so you had kind of a panic seller and then the price rebounded over time. I think there are a few things at play here. First of all, if you look at Bored Apes over time, there are a lot of times where they kind of have these crashes, but there's always been, and this chart goes back to January 1st, 2022, always been a bit of demand when you get into that 50 to 60 range. There are a lot of people who love this brand and who want to buy these NFTs. The second thing, and I think that's true also for Azuki, Pudgies, a lot of the collections, but the second thing is the airdrop farming, as long as Blur's market cap is in the multi-billion-dollar range, they've committed to 300 million Blur being given into the ecosystem over the next 6 to 7 months. That's still, they are going to be putting out, based on this valuation, $1.3 to $1.5 million per day. So I do think the airdrop farmers do come back when they see a lot of this panic and you see the market rally again. Now, yeah, so we'll see how this continues to play out. Never a dull moment here. Story number 3, notable Pepes Go Off. Just a quick reminder, notable Pepes were this checks art that Vincent Van Gogh sold as an open edition, where he sold 237,800 of these open editions and raised over $1.6 million. He later said that each of those NFTs would be an access pass and a raffle spot for future cards that he would drop. Well, the cards started dropping in earnest. One dropped last week, but 5 of them dropped over the weekend, I believe on Saturday. You can see here's the collection of 8. One of these is just a one of one that he owns, but the 5 new ones are all here. One that really stands out is this Pepes chair, which has a current floor price of 4.4 ETH, only 100 of those, but really all these prices did well, all of them trading above 0.5 ETH. The Notamoto card at 4.124 ETH, so really high prices. Also just want to talk about the drop from last week, which was these checks. Check with a Q, not checks as in the Jack Butcher checks, but as part of these, I think 2,000 were dropped, but Vincent Van Gogh said that for every new card that's dropped, the artist is going to have to buy one of these checks and burn it. So you're going to have a deflationary process with these checks. And those, of the 1993 that are still left, you still have a 1.39 ETH floor. So interesting things going around this whole ecosystem, but a lot of money being made, prices all going up. I believe the min prices was 0.069. So all of these around 8 to 10 to more X versus where they minted. Now, if you look at the price to own the full set, you can see here it's already over 10 ETH. One thing I like to look at is the overall market cap. So if you add up all the supply, multiply it by the price, how much is the market saying this entire collection is worth? Right now you're at 12,000 ETH, which is down from 14,000 ETH yesterday. But even with 12,000 ETH, you're at a $20 million market cap for this project. You can see most of that is concentrated in the original checks piece, but still just a ton of value being created here. Kind of crazy. If you look at 6529 cards, kind of the OG cards play meme card in the system, this is already at more than 1/3 the valuation of that. So interesting to see just how quickly this valuation has risen. One thing I'm really curious about is the way that 6529 has kept the value of all those cards high is by giving all the cards utility. The more cards you own, the more likely you are to get allow list for future cards. Each of those future cards, if you're on that allow list, it has proven to be free money. If you own the whole set, there's a lot of value there. With Vincent Van Gogh, what he's done is really place the currency in that first one, in that initial checks piece where you keep it, you don't burn it. It's just more and more lottery tickets. So will be interesting to see how the value kind of utility is given to cards that are above that first and the second one where we saw the burn mechanism. So very curious to see how it plays out. Congrats to everyone involved there, though. Always fun to see these projects work so well. Last story, my favorite part, notable sales. We have a lot of cool art sales, but first let's start with the PFP. This Azuki Spirit, it's a Sakura. You can see those flowers flying around. Sold for 220 ETH. That is the 5th most expensive Azuki sale in ETH terms ever. Here are the 4 most expensive. The 3 of the top 4 are male PFPs. The female PFP that Dingling owns for 275 ETH is the only female that's ever sold above this one's price. Second thing to talk about, Vincent Van Gogh bought this piece called Everything is Temporary by Joe Pease for 120 ETH on AOTM. Just a huge sale. Joe Pease, basically, this is a video. So I just have a screenshot here, and it's basically this person in all these different environments where the world's going on around him, just kind of passing him by, kind of gets that idea, everything is temporary. Go have a look. It's an interesting piece to experience for yourself. Joe Pease is an Australian artist based in California, says that skateboarding was the gateway through which he got into film and editing videos. And I saw an interview where he said this about NFTs. I just love exploring the creative process. And if that's received well in the NFT space, then that's great. So just making art, hoping people like it. He's had a few sales at 50 ETH, one at 39, but you can see the one in the lower right. That's the one that just sold 120, by far his biggest sale of all time. So congrats to Joe and congrats to VVD on that purchase. Second story to talk about, or second sale to talk about, Hounds by Ripcache. We've talked about Ripcache a fair bit. He had this piece displayed at a gallery in France, in Paris for NFT Paris. This went for 24 ETH. The buyer was Defiance Works, says this has been a hole in his collection, and he's just really excited to have it there. So congrats to Defiance Work. Other top Ripcache sales, this matches his all-time high of 24 ETH, but then he's had other sales above 20 before, so exciting to see this. Third sale to talk about, First Breath by gmunk. I wasn't too familiar with this artist, but he has a really long track record, great sales going all the way back to 2021 in the NFT space, maybe even before that. But again, this is a very dynamic piece. You can see in this image, it's a video that has all these different motions that the piece goes through. He says, introducing First Breath, the Genesis chapter of Inframonk is breathing, an infusion of something as basic as breath of life triggering at a cellular level, excavation through the lens of mutation. There's a lot going on there. This is above my head, but it's a cool piece of art. Go check it out. Congrats to him. Here are other sales that he's had. He has had a sale at 20 ETH, which is higher than where he's at than this sale. But other than that, I believe this was his second highest sale of all time. Check out his work. Very cool stuff. And then lastly, an animation. I am Laura L. I am Laura L. I'm not exactly sure how it's supposed to be pronounced, but I'm just going with I am Laura L. 9 ETH sale. Really just kind of cool image illustration, nostalgic, fun piece. We've talked about her before because she's had sales at 6.875, 4.85, Batsup Yum, Vincent Van Doe, both collectors, I believe, of hers. But nice to see this kind of ladder higher. Last sale we talked about was 6.8. Now we're looking at a 9 ETH sale. That's all for me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have things you'd like us to do work on, things you'd like us to research, data you'd like us to run, throw them in the comments. We'll look at it. Maybe we'll do it. I'd love to see what you're interested in. We'll be back tomorrow and every weekday with another show. Have a great day.